Yo, what's up? Today's video, I'm gonna teach you guys how to make a very basic look clicking system for simulator. This is gonna be a very basic, simple tutorial. I'll probably expand on this in the future. No clue. Maybe one-off video. Who knows? First thing I'm gonna do is create a new little world here. We'll just call this the YouTube simulator. Go ahead and click save on that. This video, I'm gonna show you how to save the data. So make sure you go to security under game settings and enable the API services. That way we're able to use leader stats and data stores and all that fun stuff. So we're actually able to save all the clicks that we've clicked, basically. So the first thing I'm gonna do is make a little GUI to track all this. We're gonna make a screen GUI. Call this click tracker or whatever you want, and then we're gonna make a little text label, move it on down here. Doing this for an actual game, then you'd want to click scale convert them both, or just go over here, make sure these are on scale, so that way if you do to go to mobile and you go here, you can see it's the same on everything. But if it was to be offset and you go to mobile, it disappears. So you gotta make sure you're on scale there. Put this somewhere up here at the top. Come down, we'll do very basic UI work real quick. Make it 0, text scaled, text, make it white, add UI stroke, and then I have a I actually have a plugin that lets me use the default UI stroke and it works on mobile. So for you guys, if you were to do this, it would end up like this to get thicker. But if you actually have the plugin I have no clue what it's called. UI stroke scale. I may leave a link in the description. Just search that up in Roblox, you'll find it. You need to get that if you want to use the default stroke. Like, it's pretty much required. I don't know any other way. You can just do this, whatever looks good. This is completely unnecessary. You don't need to be doing any of this. You just need some text label so you can follow along. But yeah, this is really unnecessary. I'll put a timestamp on screen if you just want to go straight into scripting, but may want to watch this if you're actually trying to do this in a game. Duplicate a UI stroke here, change contextual to border. You see it makes it around the actual thing. Perfect, looks good. Now we're going to change, I'm not going to change anything. We're going to make a local script under our text label here. We're going to do game get service. We're going to do run service dot render stepped. And you see here it says fires every frame prior to the frames being rendered. That basically just means every single frame is going to update. This is pretty unnecessary for something like this. You could just do like a true loop with a wait. It doesn't really matter. It honestly doesn't really matter. If you're trying to make your game like 100% optimized, don't do it this way. What you need to do to be completely optimized is you need to change it whenever the amount changes. We're not doing that today. Anyway, we'll just connect this to a function here. And then now this is going to run every single frame. So everything up in here will just continuously run. So we're going to do script.parent.text equal to, and then we need it to be equal to, obviously, our clicks. And to make it equal to our clicks, we need to go under server script service, create a regular script, call it whatever you want. Usually you do game handler or game manager, anything you want, doesn't really matter, doesn't affect anything. And we're gonna get our players, so local players equal to game.players, and then we're going to make a function that we want to run whenever a player joins. So function player joins, we're going to get the player, and then we're going to go down a little bit. We're going to do players.player added, connect that to a function and get the player, and then we're going to run our previous function here, do that, and then put player. So this is going to run this. You don't really need this for simple thing like this. Is pretty unnecessary. Normally you just put everything here, but if you're going to scale this up into a real game, you're going to want everything to be separate functions that we're able to run this at different reasons, not just on players added. We're gonna make our leader stats here. I'll tell you what exactly you have to have the same as mine for this to work. We're gonna make leader stats equal to instance.new folder, leader stats.name. Make sure yours is leader stats, just like this, all lowercase. Do not make this capitalized. Leader stats.parent is equal to player. Make sure yours just looks just like mine for leader stats to actually work. Now we need our clicks. So we can copy this, paste it below. Instead of leader stats, we can do clicks. I like to do a lowercase c for all the scripting. And then on the name, I do a capital C. And instead of folder, we're gonna do a int value. And instead of the player being the parent, we're gonna change that to leader stats. Now, if we go ahead and play test this game, you can see here we have clicks and 0. Obviously, this script is gonna error because we haven't added anything to it. We can see it actually works now. So we can go back to this one. We can do, let's get our player here, our local player is equal to game.players.local player. And this text is gonna be equal to player.leaderstats.clicks.value. So now if we play, we shouldn't get any errors, and our clicks are equal to 0. If we go to the server, go under players, our player leader stats clicks, we change this to whatever we want, and then we go back to client. We can see here automatically updates just like that. So this is the basic little leader stats done. This doesn't save, this doesn't do anything, it just creates it. But instead of us having to change it like that, we don't want to manually change it. We want to increase every click. We're going to go into the character scripts. Actually, I believe this can be under player, not entirely sure, don't quote me on that. We're going to make it click handler, throw client in there too if you want, it doesn't really matter. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get the clicks. So if we actually open up this and we go to their documentation, wait for this site to load up, scroll down just a little bit, we see they have a little code snippet here. We just go ahead and click copy on this, and then we can paste it right in here. And what this is going to do is every time we click our mouse button 1 is going to print this, and there's a slight problem with that. Don't do what I'm about to do. This is purely for just showing you guys. Here, imagine this was a button for like opening a shop. You currently play this game, Let me click, obviously clicks. Even if you click this button, we're clicking a button, but it's still printing. We don't want the player's clicks to increase if they're clicking a button. So what we have to do is the game process. This basically runs, you can probably read about it here. Okay, I don't think they cover it. Basically, this runs whenever the actual game is processing something. So if you click on a button, the game is going to do something, like the actual game engine. So what we want to do, we want to check, perfect, we run this, but before, if underscore game processed, just return. We do not care if the player is clicking a button, ignore it. Now if we click, works perfectly. Click on a button, nothing happens. Click out the button, perfect. Click a button, nothing happens. Now we can delete this, give us some space here. Now we just increase players' clicks. The only thing is, if you want to save this, you have to change it on the server. So we can quickly show what I'm talking about here. We do player.leaderstats.clicks.value plus equal 1. Now if we go ahead and play this, we can see, okay, I forgot to get the local player here. So player equal to game.players, local player. Anyway, we go into here, click, we can see perfectly works right here. One problem is, this isn't going to the server. So if you want to make this a game and you want to save that data, nothing's on the server. So we can't do it this way. What we have to do is we have to create a remote function. Replicated storage, we're going to create a remote event. So I'm not too knowledgeable in this, but I'm going to be using a remote event in this video. I'm not entirely sure the limits to the remote event. I think you're only supposed to use it a specific amount of times per player per minute, I believe. So for this test, this is perfectly fine to use. But if you are going to have a bunch of players all spamming this, you may want to use an unreliable event. And I don't think, and that's about like 10 times as less intensive, because it doesn't confirm that it was being sent, so it's not as reliable, obviously, from the name. You could also just manage the clicks on the server. I personally haven't done that. That is a way though. If y'all know a better way, make sure to leave a comment, because this is just what I've done. I've never made a full scale simulator, so I couldn't tell y'all for sure. We're just gonna make this update click just like that, and then in our click handler we're going to fire this remote event. So we're going to do game.replicated storage.update click. We're going to fire the server. This automatically sends the player, so we don't need to send the player, but we do need to send the amount. And the reason that's important is because people can upgrade their click amount per click in simulators, so they can spend 100 clicks, and every time they click they get 2. So just this, I'm going to make a variable called amounts per click. I'm gonna make mine 1. In a future video, I may make this upgradable, like with the button you can upgrade it, but just for now we're gonna pass the amount per click, which is gonna be 1. It's hard coded. Yours shouldn't be. You should have a button with a variable under it to increase. Now we're gonna go to our game handler, and we are going to make a function for this. We're gonna do game.replicated storage.update click on server event. So this just runs when the client fires it. Connect it to a function, and like I said before, automatically passes to a player, and then the amounts per click. You make this anything you want. We're just gonna do amount. Now all we have to do is make the player's leader stats increase. So we do player.leaderstats.clicks.value plus equal the amounts, just like that. So now if you go to play, let me click, you see it increases. So it's basically just like last time, but this is on the server. And another thing you can see is when we spam, you see how it kind of glitches. It's kind of like, it's a little bit weird. Some simulators don't have this, some do. I'm gonna add a debounce. So we're gonna make a new variable called db. This is just for debounce, and we're gonna do if db, then just return. Meaning if this is set to true, we're just gonna return. We're gonna ignore it. So once we pass that, we want to set it to true. And then now that we've sent the click amount here, we're gonna set a wait, task.wait 0.1. Then we're gonna do db equal to false. So to recap, we have a debounce here that's set to false. So the first time they click it, it'll go past this just fine. It'll set it to true. So if they click it again within this 0.1 second, which is very easy with an auto clicker, it'll stop here, and it'll run the first click through. So it'll set it to true, send the click. Once all that's done, it'll set it to false again, so then click again. So before we were able to spam it, like bug a little bit. Now if you spam it again, it's a lot less. You can increase this to 1 second, for example. Make it 1 second right here. You can see, but now we can only click every second. This is me spamming it. You can see it kind of freezes there. I think that's due to the remote event being fired. If that is, make sure to tell me in the comments so I can fix that in the next video, because it's the only way I know. Now with all this actually being done, this is the very basic system, but now we want to save it. So what we want to do is when player joins, we want to grab the amount they have. So now we need to save that. So we're going to make a p call, so we can do local. We're going to do either the amount, or if it breaks, we're just going to do broken. Like whatever you want, doesn't really matter. We'll do a p call. In this p call, we're going to run a function just like this. So that function, we want to get the data. In order to get the data, we need to have a database to even pull from. So we can do local data store service equals to game get service data store service. Now we can do local database equal to data store service get data store, and name this whatever. It can be spam, it can be your name, it can be whatever you want. I usually just do like testing database and then 1, because that's changed pretty often. But whenever you go to publish a game, make sure to put this on like official or something. That way whenever you release the game and you come back to update it, like you just have multiple, it's easy to organize. We're just do testing database for now. You're also able to pull from the database in other scripts as well, so that's a little bit more complicated, but now we can actually pull from it. So we can do return database get async. Now we need the key. The key is just basically, imagine every player is in the status store, and it's all like a box. To get to that box, we need the key for that box. So we have to pass through the player.user ID, and that is the key. We're looking for this specific ID. And then the options is just gonna be blank. We're trying to get everything. And after this, we can, if broken, we can print broken. Then we just return, or we kick player, do whatever the hell you want. Do whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. But after, we can print the amounts. Then we can go ahead and play this, see which one runs. It says broken and then false. So we actually have an error here. It's supposed to be user ID, capital I. That means he just prints true. So no errors, we're all good there. Not broken, nothing. So we're gonna define all the later stats. So we can do, clicks. So we can do clicks.value equal to the amount. Play this, it's probably gonna give us an error. Yeah, okay. So that's because the value is supposed to be 0, but because the data we're actually getting, we're basically getting a true or false. So what we can do is if amount, it shows I messed up here. The actual amount is here. Forgot it came in second. So this is doing works. If it works, not works. So if this returns false, prints anything you want. Something went wrong, good enough. And then the amounts we're gonna put here. Now this isn't gonna return anything, it should be nil. And that's because we haven't saved anything. So we actually need to do if amount equal to nil, amount equal to 0. So if we load in, the player will be brand new. The amount's gonna be equal to 0. As you can see here, sets it to 0. But let's say the player is, they joined, they clicked a couple times. So what we need to do is make a new function, call it game. We're gonna call it local function player left. Pass through the player, obviously. Copy this snippet of code here, and instead of player added, we're gonna do player removing. Instead of player joins, we're gonna do player left. And player lefts, we're gonna do pretty much a very similar thing to this up here. So here we can just change this to good, or keep it at works, just pretty much anything that says this is a working function, whatever you want. This doesn't matter, keep it the same, whatever, just like this. But instead of get async, set async, and then we need to pass through the value that we want to save. So it's gonna be player dot leader stats dot clicks dot value. So this is going to set the clicks value, so whenever we pull it, we get the actual amount. Now this is only good for storing one type of data, one thing, one per player. If you want to save more, then you're going to want to save an array or list of actual data, and that would look something like this, where you have local player info, whatever you want to make it, and you would do like clicks equal to 0, and you would do pets equal to another list, just like this. Today we're not doing that. I can make a video on that in the future. It's pretty simple. I'll link a video down below to a pretty good video on it, where I actually learned pretty much all you're gonna need. We're gonna do if works, then prints all good, just like that. We're gonna prints all good, everything's good, moving on. So now we can go ahead and play this here. Click, mine's still stuck on the 1. It's a little glitchy. We got 6, remember 6. So we stop it, all good. Saying we saved everything, so if we click play, load back in, perfect. We got 6, click, we get some more, stop, we got 9, play it back in there. Now we have 9. And just like that, we have a way to save your data, get your data, and then display your data. That's gonna be all. Appreciate it if y'all subscribe, maybe like, leave a little comment, tell me what I should do next. Peace.